tell you why as we go through this. But I've got a little bit of PowerPoint slide, but most of just me. I just want to have a conversation with you guys because that's what it's about. So I want to introduce you to somebody. That's Marge Ireland. When I was in 9th grade, Marge Ireland, Mrs. Ireland, because I have to call her that because I still have that little kid feeling when I think about her. She announced she was going to do a school play. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to audition for this play, and I'm going to do the lead because I want to be an actor, and this is so fabulous. And we all showed up in this big room to audition for this play, and she was not an instructor of mine. She just happened to be a woman who showed up at the school from teaching somewhere else and said she was going to do a play, so she didn't know me from anyone. And I realized that when we got into this room to audition for this play that we were going to be reading in front of every other student. And this wave of nausea went over me, and my palms started to sweat, and this lump rose in my throat. I had to pee, though I just peed, because I had problems with bullies, and getting picked on, and getting teased, and getting talked about. And two of the girls that terrorized me, Melissa and Andrea, they were pretty and perky and blonde, and they had these cute little noses and the best designer jeans, and they were cheerleaders, were sitting in the back of the room, and I knew when I stepped on that stage to read, they were going to talk about me, or make fun of me, or judge me, and it was terrifying, and I didn't want to do it. And so systematically, people went up and they did their audition, and I sat there not wanting to go and hoping, pushing the clock with my mind that maybe we'll run out of time and I won't actually have to do this because I don't want them talking about me. And the time came, there were 2 people left to audition, me and one other person, and I reluctantly got on the stage. And I look in the back where there's Melissa and Andrea, and they're going, and the nausea, and I didn't want to do it. And all I could think about through the entire reading of this script was, what were they saying about me, and what were they thinking, and what are they making fun of, and my nose is too big, and my butt's too small, and I don't have as pretty clothes as them, and my hair is stringy, and all I could think about was everything that was wrong with me. And I got off the stage, and she dismissed everybody and announced that in a couple of days they'd announced who was going to be in the show. And I'm gathering my stuff, and I'm practically in tears, and I go to walk out of the room, and Mrs. Ireland stops me, and she goes, "Kathy, right?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "What was that?" And I said, What do you mean? What do you mean, what was that?" She said, "What did you do?" She said, "I know you're better than that." Now, she didn't know me, so she had no idea I was a really good reader, and a really good actor. She had no clue, except for something she could see in me. And I said, "No, I don't know, I was really nervous," and she looked at me and she said, "Were there people here who were bothering you?" Oh my God, I didn't want to say yes, because then she'd yell at them and I'd get in trouble, and I'm a tattletale, I have enough problems with these people pushing me and shoving and tripping in holes and throwing books. And I said, no, I got really nervous. And she looked at me and she said, "You can do better than that." She handed me the script, she said, "Do it again." And I said, "But there's nobody else here." She goes, "I'll read with you." And she got up on this little raised stage and we read it, and I read it the way I wanted to read it in the first place, which was really good, with expression and emotion. And we got finished reading it, and she looked at me and she goes, that's what I expected. And I left, and I got on the activity bus, didn't think anything of it, and 2 days later she cast me as the lead in the play. Melissa and Andrew didn't even get in. But what's so cool about that is, it took me years to realize this, but she saw something in me that I didn't know I had. She had these magic glasses where she could look at me and say, "You have something fabulous in you, and you need to show people that." And I had no clue. I was in 9th grade, which is what, how old, 10 or 11, something. And I was terrified of these people who were judging me and talking about me and making fun of me and pushing me and pulling my hair. And I couldn't ignore that enough to be as good as I could have been. Except for this woman who looked at me and said, "Yes, you can." And this has stuck with me, because we have the ability to look at any other person and go, "You're fabulous, you're intelligent, you're beautiful, you're funny, you're talented." We have the ability to look at every other person in this room and see something in them that they don't yet know they have. And now as an adult, I put on those glasses every day and I look at all of you. I'm tearing up. I look at all of you and go, wow, these kids are amazing. You guys are so cool because I can see all this stuff that you guys don't know you have yet. She passed away a few years ago. But that's what she instilled in me. That we have something inside of ourselves that glows if you just have the ability to look in the mirror and go, yes, I do. Sorry, I didn't know I was going to cry today. Okay. Speaking of crying, I cry a lot. It's okay. Stress. What I felt as I was about to get on that stage was the classic fight or flight response. That, uh-oh, people are looking at me. And the nausea, and the shaking, and the sweating, and the cold, and the hot, and the not. That's the stress response. Which is very useful if we're being chased by a dragon, right? I mean, we gotta run from that. Not very useful when I'm standing on stage and it's simply two people talking about me in the room. And please don't take, it was not a simple thing. You know what it feels like. I know you guys do. To know that someone's talking about you or judging you or looking at you cross-eyed. We all know what that feels like. Even as an adult now, I know what that feels like. But now I don't care. It's none of my business what anybody thinks of me. It really isn't. But stress is the way we respond to that threat. And sometimes it is a real threat. You're skateboarding and a car comes at you. You gotta respond pretty darn fast to get out of the way of that car. It's different when it's something we imagine to be a threat. And what I imagined to be a threat was these two girls in the back of the room talking about me. That isn't physically harming me, but I perceive that as a threat. And when we're having this stress response, so much of which is brought on by what we're thinking about. We're worried about that test in the future. We're thinking about the last time we took a similar test and we didn't do very well. This is that stress response that's not helping us. Because when we're in a stress state, our memory falls apart. We can't logic, reason, all that stuff goes away. We take bigger risks, bigger stupid risks. I do trapeze, I can't really lecture anyone on taking risks. But we take worse, dangerous risks when we're stressed. Our digestion, we don't sleep well. We tend to turn to things like drugs, alcohol, overeating. These are things we want to avoid. And throughout the course of this, I'm not only going to tell you some stories that illustrate all this, but I'm going to teach you a couple techniques that are going to stop the stress response. And so when you guys start school next week, you're going to have a huge advantage over anybody else because they're going to be sitting there taking that test. Oh my God, and you're going to be like, got it, piece of cake. I'm going to ace this puppy. And I'm getting a scholarship to nursing school, or I'm going to go play professional soccer, whatever you guys want to do. You have it. I'm going to show you how. It's so simple. What we think and what we perceive is based on distorted thinking. Here's a girl who's thin, she's looking in the mirror and she's seeing a fat person. I grew up dancing. I started dancing when I was about 5. And I was told repeatedly by my dance instructor that I was fat. I was 5'8" and I weighed about 115 pounds and was told I was fat. And I got the subtle looks, when I'd kind of look in the mirror and poke at the stuff that means I'm a woman, not that I'm fat. And he'd look and he'd go, yeah. And he'd make comments, and he urged us to not eat as much, and he was horribly cruel to us. And being still in the dance world, I know there's still a little bit of that, but not as much. It's decreased a little bit, but that's distorted thinking. I was never fat. I'm not fat now. And I'm 30 pounds more than I was when I was 17. If your parents are splitting up, or if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend who you find is now kissing somebody else, we're going to be distorted those images, and you're now going to fear going into any other relationship. What if that happens the way it did with my parents? What if you have a coach or a parent that's yelling at you or bullying you? That carries into how we perceive stress and how we perceive these things. And then the kids talking about you. The kids bullying me didn't stop in 9th grade with Mrs. Ireland. It continued into high school, where the new game was, let's throw paper down Kathy's pants.
Paper what?
Is what?
Paper what?
Paper. They'd take little wads of paper and they'd throw it down the back of my pants in class.
Oh.
And I would turn around and say, "Will you guys stop it?" And I would get home from school and I'd go to change for dance class, and I'd start to change, and all these little pieces of paper would fall on the floor. And it was humiliating, and it was embarrassing, and it was, couldn't tell anybody. And the biggest problem was I didn't just have fear at school, I had fear going home because my mother was sick. She died when I was 18. She had cancer for about 9 years. So from the time, put it this way, when I was all your guys' age, I got to go home to watch my mom die. She had cancer, and one day I came home from school and found that chemo made her hair fall out. So she's in the bathroom crying and ripping out her own hair. She ended up with a morphine addiction, which made her completely lose her mind. And had I known at that point that she was that sick, no one ever explained to me she was that sick. I just knew Mom was in the hospital, she's coming home. That was my reality at that point. When you're this age, you don't expect that a parent is sick and not coming home. That was my reality. So the unfortunate thing was, I not only had fear going to school, and I spent a lot of time in the nurse's office. Oh, I have a headache again. The teacher's like, yeah, sure you do. But it was a safe place for me. And then I got home and didn't feel particularly safe, not because I had a parent who was an alcoholic or a drug addict, or was going through a divorce, or who was hitting me, or who was yelling at me, but because I had one that was vomiting every day that I had to clean up. That was in so much pain, she missed most of my dance recitals. She didn't get to see me graduate high school. She died right before I graduated high school. And I'm now at the age that my mother was when she passed away. That's an interesting concept, because I can now look at it from Yurgo's perspective and from the adult perspective. I'm only 46. That's probably actually older than most of your parents. And I have so much life ahead of me. And so I have this now reality of, I'm at school and I'm being bullied and I'm being picked on, and I can't even go home and have a safe place because I don't know what I'm going to find there. And the most important thing that came out of my mom being sick was not only watching my dad be such an incredible caregiver, which is, I think, a lot of why I do what I do now, but also being able to forgive myself for being an impatient teenager. I was impatient, I had arguments with her, I would yell, I was probably cruel at times because I didn't know. I didn't have the toolbox to act as I would now around a cancer patient. Now I treat them all the time. A lot of my clients at my office are dealing with cancer. It sucks, it really does. But as I got older and more removed from that, I realized I have to forgive myself for being mean to my mom, because that's all I knew at that time. I was just a kid. I didn't know. So having the kids talking about me and then going home and not feeling safe set me up. I could have had a real, can I say a bad word? I could have had a really shitty life. I could have turned to drugs or alcohol or not succeeded in what I did, but what I realized is all of that stuff, from the paper down the back of my pants to the really big fat girl who threw my books down the hill and then tried to beat me up, I did pretty good. I actually picked her up and was about to body slam her, because I watched a lot of wrestling, until she put her hand over my nose and my mouth and I couldn't breathe, and I went, I guess I'm losing. I went home in tears. But all of that stuff made me who I am right now. It made me stronger. It made me not care what people think, because I had to prove who I was. And it could have been crap, and I have excelled to the point where I couldn't even imagine. And when I found myself on a billboard in Times Square in New York.
That's you?
That's me. Billboard in Times Square. Dream come true. Coolest thing ever. And I posted this on Facebook, right? Oh my God, I'm in the middle of Times Square. I'm on a freaking billboard in Times Square. And I'm now friends with a lot of the people that teased me in school. We're friends on Facebook. Social media. And I posted this picture and hundreds of people liked it. People shared it. I went to high school with this girl. I danced with this girl. I went to college with this girl. This was so cool. And 3 of the people that teased me and threw paper down the back of my pants praised me for this picture. This is the coolest thing ever. You're the best thing to ever come out of Penn Hills. Da da da. And what I wanted to do was go. I wanted to say, F you. But instead I realized what I should say is thank you. Because had they not teased me and made me question who I was, I don't think I'd be doing any of this stuff. And if you're being picked on, if someone's messing with you, here's the thing that you don't understand when it's happening to you. It stops. You're not going to be my age and still worrying about what those kids in grade school thought of you or who threw the paper to you. It goes away. This permanent record that we write everything on when we're in grade school and junior high and high school, the perfect attendance, you get into the real world and the permanent record after college becomes impermanent. And you write whatever you want on it. You want to write a book? You go write a book. If your English teacher said you suck at grammar, you get an editor. There's a solution to every problem that you guys have. It really is. One of the tools that I like the most are called affirmations. It's basically positive thought. Because it's estimated we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and that 50,000 of those are negative. For any of you math people, that's 80%. I had to use a calculator, I don't do math. 80% negative thoughts. And with every negative thought we have, we start that stress response. We start to feel bad about ourselves. And you know what happens when we feel bad about ourselves is we take it out on other people, which is what I realized Melissa and Andrea were doing. Somehow they felt insecure or bad about themselves, or they had a crappy childhood. I wonder if these people knew that my mom was dying at home, if they would have treated me differently. I don't know if they would have or not, but in the same way, I don't know what was happening with them at home. So now, as an adult, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I put on those special glasses, and I see the goodness in them, and I'm not to excuse away bad behavior, because let's face it, some people are just jerks. But the nicer we are to ourselves, the nicer we're going to be to other people, and the more we're going to succeed. So affirmations is you want to make them short, you want to make them positive, and you want to put them in the present moment. I am a fabulous skateboarder. I have gorgeous hair. I am a straight-A student. I am surrounded by loving and supportive friends. I get into a kick-ass college. I ace that test. I ace that test.
I do.
I got a B+. I thought my final.
But see, here's the great thing about that. We don't know how it's going to turn out. We don't have that magic ball, the crystal ball that tells us exactly what the future holds. So if you're thinking negative stuff, you're just setting yourself up for crap. If you're thinking positive things, you're setting yourself up for positive things, and then if a negative thing happens, you're in a better place to deal with it. If you're already having a really bad day and something bad happens, isn't it even worse? The cat pukes, some car almost runs you down, the bacon catches on fire, your mom had to go to work early so you didn't get to, you're having a bad hair day, everything's worse when you're thinking that way. And affirmations are so powerful. I am healthy and well. I'm beautiful and productive. I get into the perfect school. All of these things do help propel us forward. And I can tell you, the times that I have really worked with affirmations, it's a sign from the gods. The times I've worked with affirmations, I've seen things manifest in my life. You guys have to ask for what you want. I asked for that billboard. And I got it. I was picked from I don't know how many tons of hundreds of people. They picked me. Because in my email to them I said, hey, you know, I have a perfect headshot. It's going to look great on that billboard in Times Square. Let me know where I should send it. I was half kidding, but I'm also putting in their head, hey, I want to do this. I want to be on that billboard. Pick me. And they did. And I was on that billboard in Times Square. Okay. This is Stonehenge in England. My father owned a small paint store in a really bad neighborhood. He was robbed at gunpoint multiple times. There's still to this day a lot of shootings in this neighborhood in Pittsburgh. Very disturbed area, lots of drugs, lots of prostitution. And my dad, the chubby middle-aged white guy, had a paint store there. And my mom was a homemaker until she got sick, and then she was still a homemaker, but not as productive. So I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I wasn't one of these privileged kids who are now my clients' kids who, you know, they get 6 weeks in Europe for their junior high graduation and they're getting cars for their 16th birthday. That was not me. I got my mom's hand-me-down car that broke after a year and a half because it was just in such bad shape when it was given to me.
Sorry, Mom.
I was given a Buick, so we don't do that. But I didn't get to leave the country until I was 38 years old. I definitely did not have the privilege of going on these great trips. My parents never thought to take us to Europe. We never went to Hawaii. We literally got in the car and drove to Virginia Beach for 5 days every year if we could afford it. And we stayed in this teeny little horrible, crappy hotel where we made our own lunch because we didn't have a lot of money. And we'd sit on the beach, and then every year when we'd leave the beach, we'd cry because we wanted to stay at the beach. And now I live at one of the most beautiful beaches in the country. Never thought I'd be doing that. But I really wanted to go to Stonehenge. It was on my bucket list. It was a dream come true for me. Never thought I'd get there. And when I turned 38, I had the opportunity to travel. And I went to England by myself. I rented a car. on the wrong side of the road, on the wrong side of the car, and I drove myself to all these sites that I wanted to see. It was the best day of my life. I was on a spiritual quest. Like, I wanted to find the Holy Grail. I wanted to find this amazing, like, enlightenment on this trip. I barely remember being there. I do know I was there because I have a lot of pictures of me doing that. I was so excited. But my main goal was to get here. It's called Glastonbury. For any of you that know Arthurian legend, it's where King Arthur was. It's Avalon. It's the mists of Avalon. It's the goddesses and the swords and the stone, and that's where I wanted to go. And I had gone to Stonehenge that day, and Woodhenge, and Avebury, and Bath, and Stanford. I'd gone to all these sacred sites with those henges, and I sat in the middle of the henges, and I meditated. I thought I meditated. I didn't know how to meditate. I sat there, waiting for some sort of spiritual enlightenment. And I was driving to my bed and breakfast to get here. I was going to hike this hill, and I was going to watch the sunset, and I was going to have this God experience, and it was going to be amazing. And I came around a corner, and a truck ran me off the road. And I not only popped my tire, I bent the rim of the brand new Audi rental car they gave me, being so nice to the American girl. And I was stranded. And I was pissed. This was so unfair. This is ruining my day. This was my dream trip. How could this go completely so bad? I'm stuck on the side of the road. I was furious. I wanted to call a friend and just complain, right? I just wanted to tell everybody how bad all this stuff was. And I called their version of AAA. It could take 2 hours for someone to get to me. It could take 2 hours for someone to get to me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm stuck here for another day. This sucks. This is the worst day of my life. And from that moment, I went from the highest high to the lowest low of, I can't believe this is happening to me. Why is this happening to me? It always happens to me. My dream trip, and it's falling apart. So I called the bed and breakfast to tell them when I was running late. I was furious. I said, hey, Michelle, I was stuck on the side of the road, and this sucks, and this car ran me off, and da-da-da. And she goes, are you safe? I said, am I safe? I guess I'm safe. I don't know, I'm sitting here on the side of the road. I'm pissed. This sucks. This is awful. She goes, oh, okay. Are you looking at something pretty? I said, what? What does that even mean? I said, I don't know. I'm sitting here, I'm waiting for the stupid truck. It's going to take forever. I'm going to be late. This is ruining my vacation. And I don't, when I look at something pretty, what does that even mean? And she goes, okay, well, you sit. You wait. You look at something pretty. You'll get here when you get here. And the bitch hung up on me. And I'm sitting on this, I'm furious. We need to look at something pretty and sit here. What is wrong with this woman? And I was furious. And if it wasn't for the fact that my global cell phone was like $5 a minute, I would have called someone in California to complain. This ruined my trip. Why me? This is awful. This sucks. And I'm sitting there, pissed, fuming on the side of the road, arms crossed. And then I thought, okay, this could take a while. What'd she tell me to do? Sit and wait and look at something pretty. All right. So I turned away from the road, and that's what was behind me. Not that exact thing, because I didn't have the thought at that moment to take a picture of the exact thing, but it was pretty darn close. Beautiful mountains, hills, and the sun was going down, and there were cows, and there were sheep, and there were flowers, and this light breeze, and I could smell the hay. And I turned away from the road, and I sat on this low wall, and I looked at that for like 45 minutes. And the truck came, and he changed my tire, and I felt fine, and I got in my car, and I drove to my bed and breakfast. And I didn't get to hike up the Tor to see the sunset, but I sat there and I watched it from there. And I realized that this spiritual quest I was on had nothing to do with sitting at Stonehenge, it had nothing to do with hiking a certain hill. It had to do with a truck coming around the corner and running me off the road, and this woman telling me to sit there and look at something pretty. Which reminded me, we have a choice as to where we put our focus. I can either sit there and ruin my trip, and be mad, and be furious, and complain, and ruin the whole rest of my time there, or I can choose to focus on something else. And every single moment of our lives, we have a choice as to what we focus on. Do I want to sit there and be mad, or do I want to focus on this beautiful hillside? And then I realized as I got into this work that looking at something pretty actually has medical benefits. We communicate better, we take less risks, it helps balance everything in our world. We're surrounded by enough negativity. you guys probably aren't turning on the news and watching the election, but oh my God, it's the world's crazy right now with shootings and attacks, and it's hard to escape being bombarded with negativity, whether it's input from students or teachers or whoever, you're getting it. Focus on something pretty. You guys have the ability to look at these beautiful pictures and focus on something pretty. And change your mind. You can't control anything outside yourselves. You can't control, really, that you got the B- on the test. B+, sorry.
But I still do you
You can't control the traffic. You can't control...
I love when there's trumpet.
You love when there's traffic?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you're not driving.
Right, yeah. Wait a couple years.
It's more this, like, it calms me down. Like, sometimes, no, sometimes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you're driving, you might have a different perspective. It's all about perspective, but that's interesting. It is all about perspective.
When this guy gets me mad, oh no. Is you, Willie?
What?
So,
This,
I learned to visualize when I was 15. I was in a summer stock production of Oklahoma with my big community debut, and I started to get sick. That little tickle, I started to lose my voice, and I was getting really upset because we were performing that week, and this was my big shot to stardom, and I was going to sing and dance, and I was going to be discovered, and I was going to be famous, and we see how that turned out. And a guy in the cast came up to me, and I got my big thing of tea and the honey bear and the lemon, and I'm whispering to everybody, and he goes, "Are you feeling okay?" And I said, "No, I'm starting to lose my voice, and I'm really upset because we opened this week, and I got to sing, and I can't miss the show." And he goes, "Oh, okay, do you visualize?" And I said, "I'm 15, I don't know what that means." And he goes, "Oh, okay, sure. Do you daydream?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I daydream all the time. I have a constant movie running in my head of good stuff and bad stuff and neutral stuff. It's in there." And he's, "Okay, I'd like you to visualize your immune system." That was kind of I'm like, I don't know what that means. 15, don't know what that means. He goes, "Okay, there's this place behind your heart where your immune system lives. I now know that's the thymus gland." He said, "So I want you to picture the white blood cells rushing out of your chest up into your throat and doing away with whatever's in there causing the sore throat, whether it's a virus or a bacteria, just like eating it away. Like those movies where the cavalry comes rushing over the hill, all the horses and the back." He goes, "That's what I want you to picture. Can you do that?" And I said, "Yeah, I can totally do that. That sounds fun, actually." He goes, "Okay, cool. Let me know how it works." So I got home that night, I'm laying in bed, and I'm picturing this white light coming out of my chest and moving into my throat, and it's mixing with the bacteria, and there's horses and swords and dogs fighting and cannons, and I have this whole big battle going on there. And I fell asleep somewhere in the middle of this, and I woke up the next day, and I didn't have a sore throat, and I didn't get sick, and I was brilliant as chorus girl number 3 in Oklahoma. And I've been visualizing since. Because we're all daydreaming. We're sitting in English class, we're bored to tears, we're fantasizing about something, right? Either the cute boy in front of us, or where we're going to go to college, or, oh, I'm going to get my driver's license soon, or, oh, we're going to go to the mall this afternoon, we're going to walk around, we're going to get some clothes, and I'm going to get a slushy or slurpee, whatever you guys call it. We constantly have a movie running in our heads. Now, we get to choose what movie runs. And the cool thing about the brain is we don't know the difference. Our brain doesn't know the difference between what we're thinking about and imagining and what's actually happening. So if you guys are fantasizing or thinking about something negative, your body thinks that's actually happening outside of ourselves, and you're going to have a stress response to it. That's bad. It makes us sick, and it makes us not as productive, and it makes us be mean to other people, and it makes us not achieve as much as we could. But it's so easy to go down the road of those negative thoughts. I totally get it. We're all prone to that. And I found that through using visualization, I could not only keep myself from getting sick, I've healed. I had a cracked vertebrae that I fixed from visualization. I had a trapeze accident where I almost ripped my little toe off, which I fixed with visualization. We have so much power by visualizing. And the other thing we can do, and this is the little guy that runs around my body and fixes things. My husband says I shouldn't tell people I actually have a little man running around my body fixing things, but I think you guys get him. Just pretend. Some people use angels swooping in and carrying stuff away. Some people picture Pac-Man eating the pain away. Some people fire flaming or ice melting. You can visualize whatever you want. And if you visualize yourself succeeding at things, and don't think, I'm a huge football fan, don't think that that kicker, before he does the extra point, when he's looking at those uprights, isn't thinking about the ball going through. He's not thinking about dinner. He's not thinking about, oh, what if I miss? He's visualizing that ball going through those uprights. And study after study shows that type of visualization works. If any of you are watching the Olympics right now, they're having a little conversation with themselves before they start. They're doing positive affirmations. They might have done hypnosis where they have a keyword that they think, whether it's goal or got it or now or shot or whatever it is. They're thinking that and they're visualizing that balance beam routine. They're visualizing that soccer game, the basketball, the handball, the swimming. They're visualizing how they want that to go. And I can tell you after now 30 years of visualizing, it works. And you guys will have such a huge advantage over the other people in your school because if you're visualizing and doing affirmations and they're not, boo, you are off the roof. It will up your game. You can't even imagine how much. You don't need to be dosing and taking drugs in the Olympic. You need to visualize because your body responds like you're actually doing it. Coolest thing ever. It's my husband visualizing a cat. This is the last technique I want to teach you guys, and then I have another quick story. So I'm not a great meditator. I'm very type A. I'm very active. I'm a dancer. I'm surprised you got me sitting this long. So when I started to learn to meditate, people said, sit still and quiet your mind. I'm like, oh no, what, am I in trouble? My mother used to say, sit down and be quiet. I don't think she wanted me to meditate. I think she just needed a break. So when I learned to meditate, it was very hard for me. I couldn't turn off my brain. I wanted to get up and move. Everything itched. Everything, I needed to wiggle, whatever it was. Now this technique is called mini meditation. And I've taught this to probably millions of people. And I'm going to ask you guys just to spend a minute and a half doing it with me. Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes. Because I know how to do this. I'm teaching it to you. All right, close your eyes. And just think about how your breathing feels. Thinking about the inhale and the exhale. I'm not trying to change your breathing or slow it down or anything.
Hector.
Just thinking about your breath. And on your next inhale, think, I am. And on all of your inhales, think, I am. And on your next exhale, think, at peace. And on all your exhales, think, at peace. Inhale, I am. Exhale, at peace. And if other thoughts intrude, it's okay. Just dismiss them without judgment. Let them float away. Just acknowledge that you're thinking, hey, I'm thinking about something, and then return to the breathing. And I am at peace. I am at peace. Now, go ahead and open your eyes. Okay, so you guys just meditated. Congrats, welcome to the world of meditation. I guarantee you if you do that for 2 minutes before you take a test, before you write a paper, before you fill out a college application, you're going to do better. Because in a stress state, you're not thinking as clearly, your math skills aren't as good, your logic, your reason, your cognitive function not as good. So if you do that before you do something that you think is stressful, whether it's a public talk, or I do this before I write, before I did this in the car on the way over here. Because I want to be at my optimum place for you guys. This is the easiest technique, and no one even needs to know you're doing it. You don't have to close your eyes. You can just sit there before the test and think, I am at peace. You can do it anywhere. And it really, really works. Just a couple minutes a day. If you can't sleep at night, because the thoughts, you're worrying about the test tomorrow, you've got an audition, you've got a meet, you've got a soccer practice, you've got whatever it is, I am at peace. Changes how your brain is structured. Pretty powerful stuff. What am I doing until now? I don't know how much time do I have. We started
You're
late.
good. You're fine.
Okay.
We have nothing after.
Wait, what?
We have nothing after planned.
Okay, beautiful. I had the privilege of going to Egypt last year. and Jordan. I went to see the pyramids. I was asked to speak at a conference in Jordan. I didn't know where Jordan was. I had no idea it was in the Middle East until my husband said, "You don't know where that is, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't." He goes, "I would look." And I asked the Google and went, "Holy crap, that's the Middle East. I guess I'm going to the Middle East." And so I went. And I went by myself. My husband couldn't go. And everybody around me was terrified. Because if you know anything of what's happening in the Middle East, there's a lot of kidnappings and a lot of threats and a lot of bombings and a lot of shootings and it's very, very violent over there. And a very white American woman traveling by herself, many people were terrified for me. My father begged me not to go. He said he was going to take me out of the will. He said he was going to have my husband steal my passport so I couldn't go. He said he was going to call TSA and tell them I was a terrorist so they wouldn't let me on the plane. My father did everything in his power to try to keep me from going to Egypt and Jordan. People said I was stupid. People said I was going to die. People said, "Don't call me when you get kidnapped. I'm not bailing you out." I mean, people were very mean to me about it. And I started to lose focus as to what was my actual instinct of fear and what was the influence of all these other people. And you get to a point where someone drills into your... Stop it. When someone drills into your head enough, I don't have kids, but that's how I talk to the cats. Like, stop it.
I'm a cat now.
Yeah.
Brooke's the same.
It'll be easier for you to kick the coconut around if you're a cat.
No.
You have 4 paws instead of 2 legs.
Yeah, but no
Better math.
arms.
These are
Yeah,
arms.
feet.
Right, well, it's with soccer, football.
Yeah, but
We'll talk about that. When you have something drilled into your head over and over again, you start to doubt your own ability to do that. And that's how I felt on this trip. And people had me scared. So the disadvantage of that was I missed a lot of the humor. These people were actually really funny. And when I was looking at the pyramids and I was walking around Petra, I missed their humor. And I missed the fact that they were just human beings who were getting up every day and going to work and raising their family and trying to make a living. And I have learned throughout my life not to let fear stop me from doing things. I have been spelunking and rappelling and ziplining and paragliding and parasailing and whitewater rafting and swimming with sharks and swimming with dolphins and race car driving and up in a helicopter and up on a hot air balloon and up in a paraglider and up in a... I don't want fear to stop me. Now, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to do what the guy did jumping out of a plane without a parachute, just a net. But I don't want fear to stop me from doing things. And we hear this term bucket list. I don't like the term bucket list because you write stuff down, you stick it in a drawer, and then when you're 80 you go, "Oh, I guess I'm not going to Spain," because you forget that you even were shooting for these things. But I encourage you guys to write stuff down. Write down your dreams. What I'm holding in my hand is I wrote when I was 16 years old. It was things I want to do before I die, and one of them was go to the pyramids. And that is me standing in front of the pyramids holding that piece of paper. I got to do it. Write down your dreams. Don't let anything, you don't know when they're going to turn out. You have to say yes to opportunities. I didn't know I was going to Egypt. I submitted a thing to do a free talk in Jordan. I had to pay all my own expenses to get to Jordan. And I said to a client of mine, "Man, I wish I could get over to Egypt." And she said, "Why can't you?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know, how close is it?" Thinking I really should look at a map and know what I'm doing. And she said, "Ken, it's like an hour flight." And I suddenly went, "Oh my God, I'm going to Egypt. I'm going to stand in front of the pyramids." I have been able to go to the 4 dream places that I've wanted to see in my life. Rome, Athens, Egypt, Stonehenge. I have had the privilege of standing at these 4 sacred sites that have been a dream since I was probably younger than you guys. Because I didn't let fear stop me, and I said yes to these opportunities. I spoke at a conference in Rome this year. They didn't pay me, but it's a tax write-off. You'll learn what that is as you get older. And then, hour and a half flight, I went to Athens, because why wouldn't I? Did I miss 2 weeks of work? Yeah. Do I have a big credit card bill now? Yeah. But you know what? This is so much more important than that. I'm going to get to the end of my life, and I'm going to be laying in that deathbed, and I'm going to say, "Thank God I went to Rome." Not, "Missed a couple clients that day." Or, "Geez, going to leave people with a credit card bill." Doesn't matter. This list of things that you want to do, go for it. Really go for it. As a slow transition, that's how I started doing trapeze. I had a client say, geez, I went to your website. Do you have time for anything fun? And I said, oh, yeah. And I went through the list of things I do. And she goes, geez, girl, what's left? I mean, what haven't you done? And I said, oh, I've always wanted to try flying trapeze. And when I say things like that, there's a little urging of, all right, well, then go do it. You said you wanted to. What's wrong with you? Okay. So literally, she's changing her clothes after her massage, and I found Santa Monica Pier has a flying trapeze rig, and you can take classes. And I'm like, okay, that's freaking awesome. So I went. I now have a collection of completely ridiculous outfits and socks, because that's what you do when you do flying trapeze. These are one of my socks. I wear them for Valentine's Day, along with a red skirt, a red hat, I go crazy. That is me in a burnt head of Bert and Ernie. I did fly like that day. There was one day on a very hard trick called a penny roll. The very first trick you do is called a knee hang. It's like you guys would just hang off your knees on the jungle gym. And you reach forward and you do your catch. That's the very first thing you learn. But I started getting into more and more hard tricks. Lots of hard tricks. I do really complicated stuff now. This one was called penny roll. You set, oh, I see what's happening. It's changing on its own. Uh-huh. There it is. I was going to say, I missed things. Okay. Damn it. All right. Stop it. I guess we're not seeing that one. Okay, anyway, the tricks get a lot harder. There we go. Okay, so you sit up on the bar, you lean back, and on hep, you let go, and you actually go under the trapeze and you get caught. Well, on this day, I was not in the present moment. I was scooting ahead a little bit. I was so concerned about what if I don't make this catch, and what are people thinking, and what if they're judging me, and I should be better than this, and I went too early. And I flung myself off the bar, and I did about 5 flips in the air, and I remember thinking, that's not right. And I landed in the net and almost ripped my little toe off. The net went right between my 2 toes. I had a horrible dislocation. He did 5 stitches. I used visualization to fix this. I did Solstice Parade dance show with a hip hop group. 2 weeks after this happened, I was told not to walk for 2 weeks. Visualization.
Wait, then how did you get to places?
Oh, I walked. I heal very quickly. Being in the present moment is one of the most important things I learned from that accident and from trapeze. You climb a 30-foot ladder and you stand at the top and they hand you a really heavy bar and you jump off and you fly and you hope you make it. It's the coolest feeling ever if you just get a chance to do it down and wherever. I've flown all over the world. I've had good days, I've had bad days. I have a blast. I end up on 2 magazine covers because I do trapeze. This was one of the cover shots for a magazine. And on one particular day, let's see if I can get this to work. You guys get to see my first trick without safety lines.
Yes.
That's me.
What the heck? Oh, shoot.
Bonnie, can you do that?
The best part is the feet at the end. I was so ecstatic. Kicking of the feet. That was one of the highlights of my life. That was my first time trying a trick without safety lines.
Good. What if you, like, you know how you went from that, you were hanging from that dude and then you went back? What if you didn't make it?
Then,
You fall
Well,
in the net.
then you fall to the net.
Oh, okay.
but would it hurt like on the neck?
Well, so here's a picture of me and the coach 4 hours later. I look pretty happy. I look pretty pleased with myself. He seems pleased. What you don't know is this ended up right before an emergency room visit. Because I did that return to the bar. And my fingers peeled off. And so rather than me grabbing it like that, I grabbed it like that. And when I moved forward, my fingers peeled off and my legs went up over my head and I threw my arm behind me and I tore my shoulder and I broke the bone and I ripped up my knee, torn meniscus, torn MCL. I didn't dance for 6 weeks. I didn't do trapeze for 7 months. I missed work. And several people said, oh, you shouldn't throw your arm behind yourself like that. That's really dangerous. Well, I realized in watching the video of the crash, which I am not going to show you because it's very disturbing, had I not thrown the arm out behind me, I would have landed on my neck. Maybe broken my neck. So I might not be sitting here. And after 7 months, I went back on the trapeze, and I did it again. Not the accident, the trick. And I now have been out of safety lines again, and I built back up to it. But I don't want to be known for falling down, I want to be known for getting up. And this is not going to keep me from being on the trapeze. I was doing a radio show and I was telling a woman all the stuff I did, and I told her about the accident. She said, "Oh my God, girl, do you have a death wish?" And I said, "No. I have a life wish." I said, because I can either sit at home, afraid to go to the Middle East, and afraid to get up in front of people and talk, or afraid to get back on that trapeze, or I can just go for it. You guys have such a huge life ahead of you. Oh my God, if I had the knowledge now when I was your age, I think everything would still turn out pretty much the same, but it would maybe take a little different path. I just followed breadcrumbs. I honestly never set out to do any of this. Time to do something. I never set out to write books. I never set out to get a PhD. I didn't set out to do TV and radio in this way. I thought I was going to be an actor. Definitely didn't set out to be a trapeze artist. I followed the breadcrumbs. I said yes to opportunities. I don't know if you guys watch Dancing with the Stars. I'm a huge fan. Amy, sorry, you can't do that on this. Amy up on the right here. Lost both her legs when she was a teen from complications of meningitis. Niles won last year. He was born completely stone cold deaf, has never heard a sound in his life. This guy, Zach, he's a professional wrestler. He lost a leg to cancer when he was about 8. He just appeared on American Ninja Warriors. It doesn't matter what you start with. It doesn't matter that my mom was sick and that I basically raised myself. It doesn't matter that I was picked on in school. What matters is when I take all of that and I move forward. Do any of you know who that is?
No.
She's my new hero. Her name is Peyton Lautner. No? She went to have a sleepover with her friends at age 13, and they took her in the woods and they stabbed her 19 times.
Oh yeah.
To make an offering to Slender Man. Because they thought they were going to get to go live with this mythical creature if they killed her. And this girl at 13, with 19 stab wounds, one this close to hitting a blood vessel that would have just immediately killed her. She crawled out of the woods. She was picked up by a guy in a truck who just saw this bloody girl on the side of the road. And when the ambulance came and said to her, "Oh my God, how did you do this?" She looked at them and she said, "I want to live." At 13, she knew she wanted to live. She's now 14. The 2 girls are in jail. They're going to be tried as adults, which is huge at that age. They will probably never see the light of day again, and I hope they don't, because what they did was really psychopathic and horrible. But this little girl is my new hero, because I know 40-year-olds that can't say to people around them, "I want to live." And here's this 13-year-old girl who dragged her bloody body out of the woods and said, "I want to live." So I encourage you guys to do that. Not just live physically, but live. Take those opportunities. Take every experience you have. Say yes to whatever opportunity is given to you. If you want to go to nursing school, shoot for it and go to nursing school. Even if you don't get there till you're 40. I started my PhD at age 39. I did not do the traditional high school, grad school, career. I'm on my 2nd marriage. I was married at 25, divorced at 28. It doesn't matter. We all have boundaries, and we all have setbacks, and we all have things that are thrown our way where we go, "Oh, geez, didn't think that was going to happen. I'm going to sit here and look at something pretty, and I'm going to choose to focus on something else." And if you learn nothing else, learn from this little girl who said, "I want to live." We have a choice every single day as to where we put our focus. What side of the bus do you guys want to be on? Do you want to look at the pretty stuff, or do you want to look at the crap?
I'm scared of heights.
Are you going to focus on the beautiful world out there, or are you going to focus on the bars that are theoretically in your way? You guys have a choice. I have this taped to my desk at my office. The future always starts now. With every breath, we have the ability to make a different choice. And that is the biggest gift you guys have. It's not money, it's not talent, it's not relationships, it's not how cute your girlfriend is, or how rich your husband is, or what kind of car you drive. None of that matters. What matters is you guys have the ability to make a choice. Make a choice every single day as to where you put your focus. And if you see someone talking about you, all right, good, let them talk. I'm getting more attention than they are. Focus on something else. Focus on the beautiful thing. Because I encourage everybody to just fly. And yeah, that's me.
Oh,
I thought that was a bird.
No, that's me. That is
Yeah, a
me
bird wearing pink
flying
and
through
black.
the air with a grace
I
of
thought
ease.
it was a very.
With no
comfortable bird.
parachute?
Okay.
No, that's trapeze.
Oh,
And interestingly, I got contacted when I was in Rome this year from a trapeze group in France that said, "Hey, we saw this picture of you in a magazine. Can we use it as our logo on our T-shirts?" I said, "Yes." So I guess we're switching it gears again. So somewhere around the world, there's a bunch of people with me on their T-shirt, which is really kind of cool.
But where the heck come out?
That's all I have for you guys. If you guys need anything, I brought business cards. If you want one, you can email me, you can text me, you can friend me on Facebook, you can do what I would, if you need anything, let me know.
freaking
Because seriously, I'm here for, not giving you $5. I'm here for you guys. This is why I took time out of my day, because I've been through all this stuff. And when you're going through it, it seems like it'll never end, and that there's no other options and there's no other choices. And I'm here to tell you that there are. And you guys are all awesome. And I encourage you to go be awesome and encourage each other to be awesome. Because you have this built-in support group, which is just fabulous. So that's all I got. Do you guys have any questions, any ponderings, anything right now?
If you want to ask something to Callie too, one-on-one, like privately too, you can take some time afterwards and ask her, or maybe in like smaller groups in front, if you don't want to do it in front of everybody else. But right now, I mean, a lot of the stress stuff, a lot of different methods, other methods, that's the kind of stuff that you could really ask her about right now that could really benefit you. Try to think of stuff that you're dealing with, maybe some problems or something that you're dealing with that who knows if she has the answer, but you could try it out and see if it's something that you haven't found, like a method that's not working for you. You could ask her about some other stuff that you could try out.
So you know how you showed the picture of like the girl like in the looking in the mirror and all that? Yeah, how do you deal with that? Like, 'cause I know I get like that sometimes.
Mm-hmm. We all have moments where we feel like crap about ourselves, and I can sit here for the next 10 minutes and tell you everything wrong with me.
No more than
We have to change our focus. And that's where I really like the affirmations. I also like a gratitude page. So every night before I go to sleep, I write down things I'm grateful for. I might not have the prettiest body, but I got one that works. Man, it can throw me around that trapeze. It gets me from here to there. And I look at people like the Dancing with the Stars people